Okay, I think that should do it. Hopefully. Okay, it says it's setting up your meeting for YouTube. Done, redirecting, and we're live. Perfect. Okay, cool. Oh, let me mute myself on my phone so I don't have to hear myself. Oh gosh, now I've got myself in triplicate. I need to make my voice be quiet in one place. There we go. Whew. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a wonderful opportunity to deep dive on some astro stuff with myself and my cohort here today, Jai Gobind of Channel for Grace. I'm super excited to be joined by you, Jai. How are you today?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me here on your channel.
Oh, fantastic. What a treat. Okay, well, before we get too deep in, I just want to take a moment and welcome everyone who has joined us. Teresa, welcome. Jamie, welcome. Hi, Smiles. Dollface, Gemini Princess. It's so great to see all of you here. Thanks for jumping in the chat and letting me know. For those of you who'll be watching the recording, it's wonderful to have you guys here. If you'd be so kind as to just give this video a quick thumbs up, that would be amazing because we do have an incredible set of conversation topics for you today. Um, my friend Jay here is a modern mystic. She is a tarot reader. She is also a singer songwriter. And she is the host of the YouTube channel Channel for Grace and the podcast Channel for Grace, where she does astro chats, astrology lessons, as well as new and full moon astrology guidance, and general and collective channeled guidance as well. She is absolutely one of my favorite astrologers. We had a wonderful conversation about astrology on her podcast earlier this year, talking about the changes that we expected to see based on the transits for the remainder of 2020 and when we suspected energetically this heavy transformative energy would change. So if you haven't checked out the Channel for Grace podcast, please do. But Jai and I tonight are going to have a conversation about what it means to bring the energy of astrology into your day to day lived life. How do you bring the ancient wisdoms into your modern lifestyle? And how do you do this in a way that isn't kind of like, oh, I have to completely take 3 days off for the solstice so I can like meditate and light candles and change my entire life.
Mhm.
Instead, what we're going to talk about, like, how, the stars are already within us and how to
Mm.
work with the energies in real time so that you can start to be a source for yourself of this ancient wisdom in your everyday lived experience. So, if you haven't already subscribed to Channel for Grace over on her YouTube, I highly recommend it. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link right now for you. And then we also have a couple of really fun things to share with you tonight. One of the first fun thing is that Jai is launching a book called Circle of Stars. And there's an opportunity as she launches this book for you to get a free copy. And in addition to that, Jai is getting ready to run a free 3-day live astrology event. And
Mhm.
that is going to be super cool simply because, I mean, who doesn't want to hang out and geek out on astrology? Like, I mean, I do with
I
my fellow
always do. I'm
Ash
always down.
readers, right? So it's a free 3-day event, and we'll be linking that here for you in a moment. So, with all of that said, I just want to thank you for joining us, and I want to go ahead and say, Jai, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me here. I have been so looking forward to sharing this with your subscribers. It has been a very exciting journey to get to this point. In general, in my whole life, my whole career. Honestly, this really feels like a culminating energy. And so, yeah, just excited to keep expanding. I'm actually this year going through my Jupiter return.
Ooh,
And I have Jupiter in Capricorn. So it's all about my career. And also, it's in my seventh house of relationships. So business partnerships. And this is like that to a T, like just waking up in my life and bringing in a lot of abundance. And yeah, so it just feels really good.
wait, does that mean you also have a Libra midheaven?
No, my midheaven is in Aries.
You have an Aries midheaven. Okay, so you have a Libra IC. Okay, never mind. Sorry, Astro Geek sidebar over. But I was trying to like place it like the whole like entrepreneurial thing. That makes sense because Aries is one of the signs that represents the entrepreneur, and the midheaven is where we come to fame and get known in in our lives. So that is so cool.
Yeah, so that Mars is going through my 10th house.
Retrograding back and forth with all of its fun energy for 6 whole months.
Right? But this is a very exciting time for me in my life, and I do feel exponential. I feel an expansive energy at the same time that I feel this sort of like retracting, kind of more retrograde immersion, because we do have a lot of retrogrades right now. But I have been feeling that there's sort of these two things going on. There's some astrologers I've heard say, and we've even talked about this too, that there's like this kind of split in the collective.
Yeah,
Or there's almost like two timelines like going on at the same time. And depending on which timeline you're connecting to, it's like taking you in like very different directions.
I believe it. I really do. I have seen that in the work that I do for twins, and I definitely am seeing that in like just the general light worker energy collective. And to the degree that I'm really able in my energy updates, I've been really working hard to let people know, like, hey, this is a very critical timeline split, timeline choice point. You don't just say you want the choice given Capricornian heavy energy, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. This is
Mhm.
Earth energy, given the Aries square for Mars and the Chiron energy there. This is spiritual energy. This is really about walking the talk at
Oh
this
my God,
point.
yeah.
Like that's the only way to get on the timeline you want is you at this point you have to be about it. You have to be walking the talk to get on the timeline you want.
Ooh, I really like that, the way you put that, for sure. That's how it feels. So that's why I said it takes you two different directions, because one of them is like taking you, in this direction of like you're not happy, right? That's not where the happiness is. But then if you are, walking the talk and stepping into that timeline, you're moving in the direction of your destiny, of your life purpose, of your North Star, or, your mission in life. And I love, one of the things that I'm fascinated about within the world of astrology is starseed origins, and how some people are born to the world, and also the word light worker is used, but with a mission to help awaken humanity, or to help humanity like evolve. We're also entering into the Aquarian age. I mean, there's some major Aquarian energies coming in starting on the winter solstice. And it's no coincidence that these things are aligning exactly at these powerful times, the cycles of the sun and the moon and all of that. But I've just been feeling that these awakenings, this kind of mass awakening or a great awakening that's happening in the world, a lot of it has to do with stepping into purpose in terms of maybe you have a specific mission that you came here to do. And so the way you figure that out is like the things that light you up, the things that make you really excited about life, the things that make you happy, that make you feel like you're living life to the fullest. That's the timeline that we're being called towards as star seeds, light workers, twin flames, soulmates, these soul
Absolutely.
contracts I think that we've signed are we chose to come here at this time, and now this is it. Like this is the show has begun. You know? Like the curtain has opened,
Yep.
So yeah.
Do your dance, starseed, do your dance.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, especially all of that crazy Aquarian energy that's about to show up for us coming up pretty soon here. The interesting thing, I was doing a little bit more digging on that alignment of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius on our solstice. And we're going to talk about the solstice here in a minute because I've been telling my channel for some time that's going to be a huge turning point. But I want you to
Yeah.
talk about why the solstice is such a significant turning point in a moment. But this particular solstice is significant because of a few things. The first is that there's a Jupiter Saturn alignment on that day. And Jupiter is expansion, Saturn is contraction. Jupiter is opportunity, Saturn is discipline. When you
Mm.
bring those two things together, you have this really grounded ability to manifest. And in the
I
sign
like
of
that.
Aquarius, you can kind of quantum leap because the Aquarian energy is the energy of the new, the next, the evolution, the revolution, the change.
Mm.
And so when these two meet up on December 21st in Aquarius, these two meet up on a regular basis, but when they meet up in a singular element, they do it for about 500 years. So they'll be in the air element for 500 years in their meeting. And this concludes a 500-year cycle of them having met up in a different element.
Mm.
So we are now entering into a very different era because these two are known as the social planets of the zodiac. They kind of sit in between the generational and the personal planets. And as a result, they are ushering in a different social construct, a different social era, a 500-year period of where we are headed as a collective. And those of you who are on Earth at this time, I mean, there are people who have been on Earth who never experienced this kind of change from one element to another with these two meeting up. They lived all within one element. But
Mm.
those of us who are on earth at this particular moment, with this change of them now meeting up in a new element, air, mind, communication, thought form, right? Kicking off in the most evolved of the air elements, Aquarius, evolution, change, revolution. There is a huge opportunity for new ways of thinking, communicating, thought forms, new revelations, new sciences and technologies to start to come forward at an extraordinarily rapid pace that we have never seen before.
Oh my God. There's so much Aquarius energy coming, and it's going to start on the winter solstice, but in 2021. So, the part of the project that I'm sharing next week, that I'm launching next week, is the book, A Circle of Stars. And in looking at all the new and full moons of 2021, there are some massive Aquarius stelliums,
Woo!
like just like just coming at us in 2021. I mean, like it's gonna really feel like we're in a new world, and it's quickly moving forward, and then the Aquarius is that innovation, higher mind, and Uranus is the heavens, right? The ruler
Mm-hmm.
of the heavens. It's that the collective consciousness too. And so there's gonna be a lot of massive changes that are gonna just, I think they're gonna just blow our minds.
I think you are right in a big way. So, but there also is something significant. So, about solstice in and of itself, right? And this is
Yes.
why I really wanted to have you join me on the channel today, because I really want to continue to illuminate this
Mhm.
turning point for my subscribers, because solstice has always been a significant turning point. Even like, before we were all born, everyone kind of, even in ancient religions, astrologies, and faiths, solstices have been a turning point in the year for so many different reasons, for so many different faiths. And so I knew you were working on this.
Yep. I lost you there for a second. Is it the Wi-Fi connection? Yeah, no, so I can't hear you still. Let me just check. I have no idea what just happened. But anyways, I mean, while you kind of figure it out, I kind of can tell where you're going with that. So I'm just going to keep talking. If you guys can still hear me.
Oh,
Are you back?
yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay, okay. So you were going into the power of the solstices.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Okay, whew. Thanks, Wi-Fi.
And
So
Mercury retrograde.
my Wi-Fi is always in retrograde. Bless you, Wi-Fi, but I'm gonna need to get an upgrade. So the thing about the solstice is that it's part of a significant series of holidays that come to us through the ancient lineage traditions. And I wanted to really illuminate what those are and why they're so significant. And I knew you were really grounded in that. So I wanted to make sure that I could share this with my subscribers. So why don't you walk us into what are the major solar events of the year, major solar holidays, and why are solstices so significant?
Yes. So, I have always been, drawn, just naturally drawn to the solstices and the equinoxes. And it wasn't actually until my friend Tara Wild, who is the co-author of this book, A Circle of Stars, reached out to me that I started to connect the dots between the equinoxes and solstices and the whole Celtic wheel of the year. And in the Celtic wheel of the year, which is something, it's ancient wisdom. It's been around for, thousands, hundreds and thousands of years. And it is basically the cycles of the sun. And there was something that just kind of clicked, and how back long time ago, right? Way back when they didn't have internet or electricity, you can imagine how different life was. You can imagine that people would look up at the stars and all they had was the light of the sun, and then the light of the moon, which reflects the light of the sun. And then they had the stars to see in the night sky. And people started to follow and start to realize that at certain times of the year, the days were a lot longer than the nights. And then there were certain times of the year where the days were a lot shorter than the nights. And they realized that there was 2 points during the year where the days and the nights were exactly the same length, and then the day started getting longer or shorter from that point on. And that's basically what the equinoxes and the solstices are. It's watching the flow of the sun, the cycles of the sun, and the light that the sun basically provides for earth. It's the reason why we have the seasons, right? It's very connected to the seasons. It's connected to um the flow of also harvesting, and um basically the beginning of like the whole cycle. When you look at in astrology, if I can make a quick connection there, the first sign of the zodiac is Aries. And when the sun moves into Aries, that's the spring equinox. And at the equinoxes, the day and the sun, the day and the night are of equal length. And at the solstices, one of them, it's like the longest day, and the other one is the longest night. But then the celebration that happens during these major turning points is the celebration of either the return of the light or the return of the sun. And that's what the winter solstice is. Although the winter solstice is the longest night of the year, the shortest day, it celebrates the return of the sun. Because from that day on, the days will begin to get slowly a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And anyways, going back to the whole astrological aspect of it, the Aries is the beginning of the zodiac wheel. When the sun moves into that sign, we have the spring equinox, and we begin this beautiful, where the seed is that we have planted during the winter months, intentionally, energetically, but also literally, they start to sprout in the spring. And we see this, and it's very Aries cardinal energy. And then when the sun moves into the sign of Cancer, that is when we have the summer solstice. And so that's when, there's there's a lot of fiery energy based off of the light that the sun is providing, right? Those are the really long days of the summer. And then we get to the fall equinox, where we've reached that balance once again. And when we get to the winter solstice, is we have seen the days get shorter and the nights get longer. And we know that moving into the winter solstice is sort of like the inner journey, going into the cocoon, and going through that like transformation, sort of like underworld energy. And then we will re-emerge again in the spring, with the seed is going to, like, the potential of the seed is going to just kind of burst and open up in the spring, and it'll kind of flower again. But there's these cycles that are just constantly going through, and the ancients learned very well the cycles. And so they started, building ceremonies around these powerful times of the year. And that is, what was the second question that you asked me? But that basically, in a nutshell, is like kind of the what are these holidays? What are these celebrations? And where are they tied to? Which is the cycles of the sun.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And I just want to pause here to kind of just acknowledge that if you live south of the equator, you're going to reverse that information, right? Because your summer is the north of the equator winter, and vice versa. So, but specifically where this information is coming through from is the Celtic wisdom traditions. But the Celtic wisdom traditions had pulled even prior to, their kind of, establishment of some of their information. There were plenty of cultures that were holding very similar information and following very similar cycles all across the globe. And if you
Mhm.
happen to be sitting right at the equator, then you end up getting, rather than longer days and shorter nights and then shorter days and longer nights at some point, it's all equal if you are right at the equator. So it's important to really just to kind of understand kind of like place and
Mhm.
time when
Mhm.
we're anchoring into this information, so that you can understand its connection to where you're at right now. Because I know there's plenty of you who watch from Australia on this channel, plenty of you from South America. So,
Well, I was born in Argentina.
see,
So I was born in June 3rd, and over there, that's the winter.
So you know.
Pretty, I mean, not the winter, but you know what I mean? We're like, we're moving towards the winter, and then here we're moving towards the summer. So
But the
it
solar
actually,
cycles are the same. The same for like the equinox, the solstices, they're the same times. They just indicate different transitions, inverse transitions.
yeah, they happen at the same time, except basically you're kind of dealing with the polar opposite of, so if you're going into the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, they're going into the winter solstice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so
Beautiful.
that is really important to point out. It also is a really nice segue into talking about how can we start to live more in alignment with these cycles, because up to now there's been a point in our modern, society, in our modern world, where we've gotten, we have electricity, we have all of these things, we have the Gregorian calendar, we have our phones, that tell, we have time, like hours and minutes, and those things really have moved a lot of people away from connecting to the cycles of the earth and the seasons of the earth. And what that's caused is a huge disconnect between something that's so natural to flow with, because these cycles teach us about ourselves and our spiritual awakenings, and the time to go within and the time to go without, the
Mm,
time to internalize the process, and then the time to really express it or grow it. And these cycles, if we lived in alignment with these cycles, if we even, because most people don't even, sometimes most people don't even know that there's a full moon going on or that there's a new moon going on. And the only reason they know it's a full moon is because maybe they'll go outside. And this was me, years ago. I never even had a connection to it. I didn't even really know what was going on. And so I think that what's been happening this year with 2020 is that everything having stopped has created this sort of alternate reality where everything is there's a reset going on. And I feel like some reason those star seeds and those light workers are tapping into the what's coming back is that ancient wisdom, because star seeds and light workers are ancient souls. Some of us have had lifetimes on earth, but some of us have had lifetimes on other planets, and there's so much wisdom that comes through that channel, right? And in order for the world to reconnect, I feel like that's part of why many of us are here, is to bring that wisdom back in and to learn to live with those cycles once again in our daily life. Because without them, there is this overrunning ourselves, like running ourselves down to the ground, burning out, because we just go, 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 and we never stop. But there's a time to go and there's a time to slow down, And I think these cycles and paying attention to the new and the full moons every month really help us to reconnect to that grounded aspect of being one with Mother Earth.
I love that. It was a real, I remember many, many years ago, I had gone to Burning Man. And, there's at that time, there's just like, there's no electricity there. And so I remember camping. I didn't go in an RV like a lot of people do at this point. I went in a tent. Um, and it's this big kind of party in the desert. And, I did it at the time because I had been invited by a bunch of my friends. And they're like, come on, let's go. But I remember very specifically out there in Nevada, like how cool it would get at night, how hot it would get in the day. And I also remember how specifically, like when the sun set by, because I was out there for about 10 days, by about day 6 or 7 without electricity, when the sun set, like immediately by 2 hours after that, my body was ready to wind down. And when the
Right.
sun rose, my body was ready. It was ready to rock with the sun. And that was huge. That was a huge revelation for me, to be disconnected from all these modern power sources that tell me when I should be awake, to be connected to the earth and let the earth's connection to the sun tell my body, this is natural. This is your natural rhythm. And
Mm-hmm.
to get into that natural rhythm was eye opening for me. I remember also realizing um, that in the winter, in the northern hemisphere winters, like I was tired. And I remember thinking there was something wrong with me for being tired in the winter, only to realize, babe, you a mammal.
Probably staying up
Mammals
too late.
in the winter. Go to sleep, girl. Go to sleep.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I
Like
think
I literally had to
yeah,
figure that out.
totally. And you had to have a visceral experience of it,
It had to
which is a
happen
big
in the
deal,
laboratory of my body, which brings us to your book.
right?
So talk to me about there's a solstice coming up, and
There
that's
is.
going to be a transition point.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about, how does the book connect us with the transition point specifically so we can
So the
understand how we
next,
would
so it's
use it?
actually, yes. So the next big Celtic uh celebration that's coming up is actually called Samhain.
Ooh,
And that this year is very special. Samhain is in between the summer solstice, or the in between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. It sits right at the exact midpoint between those two seasons. And it's actually the natural day of celebrating it. Like there's a connection to Halloween, Hallows Eve, like the 31st, October 31st. And it is a day where, and this is kind of where Halloween has come from. And there's a lot of different traditions and religions that celebrate all of these holidays, have these celebrations, these special days like Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, Halloween here, and Hallows Eve, and the Day of Souls, I think, in the Catholic or Christian
All Saints Day.
tradition, All Saints Day, exactly. They're all around this time. And it's like, so why are they all around this time? Well, the truth is that during this time, energetically in the world on earth, it's like the veil in between the world of the living and the world of spirit is very thin. And so this specific day opens up the opportunity to communicate, right, with your ancestors, with those that have left. And this is a time of the year to celebrate those souls that have passed on, and to call in your ancestors into as a sacred space. And so a lot of what happens in the Celtic, we can talk about the Celtic because it is part of the book, but in the Celtic tradition, they have rituals. They celebrate these special days in a ritual way. And so let me give you an example.
Show us
Um,
the book.
oh, okay. Yeah. So this is the actual book, Circle of Stars. I can actually, let me open it up to the page that shows you.
Samhain is like one of my favorite
Samhain.
holidays.
Yeah. So this is the image, Samhain. See if I
Mhm.
can get it on the screen.
Gorgeously photographed.
Oh my God, my friend, she's like a professional photographer and filmmaker. So she's has amazing pictures. So what happens with each of these holidays is there's certain rituals that you can do to connect with the energy of that specific holiday. And so the book goes through and explains, first of all, what the Celtic holiday or celebrate. I keep calling it a holiday, but I don't know if that's correct. But it goes through the energies of the celebration. It gives you a recipe for each of the celebrations, and then it goes into the astrology of that specific day. Well, my green screen's going crazy. And then it tells you where the new and the full moons are happening in your chart. Now, what's happening with this next holiday or celebration that's coming up, Samhain, is that it is actually happening on the same exact day of a full moon in Taurus. So we're talking next week, right? We are, and that's the beginning of the book. That's the beginning of our calendar. In the Celtic tradition, Samhain marks the beginning of it's like the Celtic wheel. It starts on Samhain. And so this book gives you an opportunity to like look at those energies and bring them into your life in a tangible way. So we give you little rituals that you can do, and we also give you, like I said, recipes of certain foods that you can make, and connect with that time of the year. So that's the next one that's coming up. And we're having this is the launch of the book, the launch event that's having next week. Will focus on a lot of the things that we're talking about here, but actually having an experience of a astral travel journey where we're going to travel to the stars, and we have this really beautiful theme, and we're going to bring it back down to earth.
Okay, now wait. See,
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
like massively practical. What does that even mean, Jai? What do we do in the 3-day event? Break it down for me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I just kind of went right into that because it's happening pretty soon. Samhain is like basically starts next week. So that it's like there's an exciting energy about it. But in the 3-day event is like it's just the introduction of how to embody heaven on earth. So
Mm,
like how to bring everything we've been talking about, and why I feel like it's merging. I feel like we're transitioning into merging. So both the modern sort of innovative futuristic world of Aquarius with the ancient wisdom. I think that's what's happening. And the event is basically just 3 days. The first day is talking about the Celtic wisdom. The second day is talking about the stars and astrology, and how astrology can help us really understand the cycles. And then the third day is a 90-minute event where we will go on this astral travel journey, and we're going to take it to the stars, and then we're going to take it back down and give you an experience of it, like a visceral visual, like merging all of it together to introduce you basically to this guidebook, this astrological guidebook through the Celtic and the lunar wheel of the year. So that's basically what the actual event is going
I
to
love it.
be. Yes.
I love it. It's so exciting. Thank you for
Yeah, you're
introducing
welcome.
us to it. So, for those of you who are listening to this live, there is a page where you can do two things. You can register for the free 3-day event, and you can also register to win a copy of the book. I've been linking it for you guys. And then in the description box below this video, if you would like to grab a copy of the book because you're like, forget winning it, I need it now, then you can just go ahead and purchase it
That's
and grab
that's
it.
me. That's me right there. I'm like, what? Now.
That's me too. I'm always like that with stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not gambling with things I know I want. No, I need.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I would
So
just want to show you like a couple more pictures. So this is the
please.
the image of Imbolc, which is another one of
Ooh.
the holidays.
Which
And
holiday is Imbolc? Which time
Imbolc,
of the year is that?
it's in between the spring and the winter solstice.
And what does it represent?
Imbolc, see, this is interesting because a lot of these the celebrations in between the equinoxes and solstices are really new to me. So my friend Tara Wild has like way more, information about the celebrations that are in between. But basically, this Imbolc celebration is about awakening, is about creativity. It's about initiation, intuition, reclaiming your power, and also healing. And it's the symbol of this holiday is Bridget, I guess the goddess Bridget,
Yeah.
Bridget's cross, candles. It's sort of like it's the energy in between the being in that inner world of winter and starting to sprout into the spring.
So there is something interesting about that. Is it February, March? Is that
It's
when Imbolc?
February 1st is the
Okay, thank.
traditional celebration of this holiday. Yeah.
So I have to tell you something.
Tell me something.
So today, literally the hours leading up to this, I was like in a deep dive rabbit hole on some of my Star School 201 prep for my students.
Ooh.
And
Mhm.
I was researching Juno in depth because, in the way that I read, she represents the divine feminine.
Mhm.
But in my research, what I stumbled upon is that the way she is actually she's associated with fertility. And one of her holidays is the Imbolc holiday. And that specific month
Wow.
of February, from the 1st all the way to March 1st, is all about fertility. It's all about like maidenhood and like becoming a
Yeah, the
young
maiden.
woman.
Yes. Mhm.
And it's like there's that connection there between Bridget and Juno and these two goddesses in the Celtic tradition, the Roman tradition, having this conversation and celebrating like menstruation and celebrating the moment when a girl becomes not fully a woman, but she's on her way there. It's an in between time. And I just thought that was
Let
such a
me
wild coincidence.
totally. I want to read you a little bit from the actual book. So, Imbolc means in the belly, a time when the Celtic Isles begin to feel the first whispers of spring, when from the belly of the earth, deep in the soil of our souls, we feel the quiet call to turn our attention outward with gentleness. Imbolc is the time when the sheep are pregnant and are beginning to lactate with milk. The celebration is marked with the lighting of candles and processions of lanterns and lights to mark the returning of the sun, and is a time for healing and awakening the deepest and truest aspects of ourselves. That's straight from the book. So,
I love it. I love it. And I love that kind of pairing like the goddess with the tradition and
mhm,
then with, okay, like how do I tie this and make it personal to me that the book
mhm.
just did for us?
Exactly, exactly. And so that, yeah, I mean, honestly, like this to me is like such a beautiful expression of that desire to reconnect
Mm,
with our ancient wisdom, with our ancestry. And you don't have to be of any specific descent. We all have ancestors,
mm,
and some of us feel really called, but we all, we all live on earth and we all go through these cycles, and this is something universal to me. You can call them the Celtic celebrations, but really they were celebrated everywhere, right?
hmm.
The Incas and the Egyptians and the Sumerians and even the Atlanteans and the Lumerians and the Mayans. I mean, they all had their own version of it, and they all paid attention to the sun, the stars, the planets, everything that they could see, they paid attention to. And that's how you merge it together, is you allow yourself to have that visceral experience of it that connects you intuitively as well.
I love that. And that way you don't have to do what I do, which is deep dive in a rabbit hole on Google, getting all the way out to page 4 of Google, trying to figure it all out. It's like all in one
It's all
place
right
for
here.
us.
It ends up being like this just beautiful calendar of the year to
Mm,
connect with all of it. So yeah, I'm super excited about it, and the event is going to be really fun. It's again happening next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And for you guys, K Moon's subscribers, I'm doing a special giveaway. So I'm going to give away 2 copies of the book. So to sign up, there's K Moon has been putting the links up in the chat, but also they'll be in the description of the video as well. And the event will be really nice to come together right before the beginning of the Celtic wheel.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you. Okay, so what else? I think we talked about the giveaway. You guys know how to find Jai. You also are clear about how to find the book if you're not ready to wait, if you know you want it now. Like Jai and I are kind of, we both agreed, we're like, okay, no, like if I want something, I'm just gonna get it. If that's where you're at, then you can jump right in, you can grab it. There's that link again. And I highly recommend, if you're not already subscribed to Jai's channel, do so. I'm going to link that here now because her rituals, she does new and full moon rituals.
That's right. I'm going to put some emojis up too, little fire emojis.
I love fire emojis. Thank you. So, yeah. If you would like to subscribe to Jai's channel, I highly recommend it. Her new and full moon rituals are wonderful. Spiritual baddie. I'm so happy to see you, Marie. Welcome. Awesome. Okay, yeah. So I highly recommend you subscribe. Check out the book. Check out her free 3-day event. What if I have a question about the 3-day event?
Mhm.
What if, like I can only come to one day or one part?
So we're going to record them all,
Woohoo.
and we will be providing the recordings after the events are over. So you'll be able to at least watch the replay of it for sure.
Love it. Okay. No, it's a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. Do I have that right?
It's actually a Tuesday. It's next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Okay, great. Now tell me this. If I can only come on Wednesday but not Tuesday, will I be behind? Will I miss something?
No, you'll have the replay. You can watch the replay on of the Tuesday event before you go to the Wednesday event.
Okay, that's cool. So it's not like if I miss the start, I can't come to the middle or the end.
No, you can join us for all of them, for one of them, like however
Okay.
you want to do it. But you will basically, once you sign up for the event, which is the link that you've been posting is to do that, you'll receive, via email all the information. And so after each event, you'll get the recording and yeah, so that's basically how that's going to work. You'll have all the information you need.
Cool. Jai, one of our listeners asked if you're doing questions. Do you have some time for
Sure. I mean,
questions?
if
I
you
know I
I'm
need to
I'm
wrap
down if you're
shortly.
down.
I am. I need to wrap shortly, but I
Okay.
can definitely we can do a few before we wrap up. If you guys have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll give people a chance to go ahead
Thanks for
and
subscribing too, you guys.
yay. Her channel's a lot of fun. Her channel's a lot of fun.
It's because I'm a crazy Gemini.
Well, the fun thing I love about it, it's like I never like sometimes you're broadcasting live with Jason, sometimes
Right?
you
Yeah.
are doing ritual and song for us. Sometimes like
I'm all over the place.
you're
Yeah.
going to do the tarot and the astro chat with us. And
Mhm.
I mean I love how it's kind of an all-encompassing spiritual connected community.
Mhm.
So yeah, Chrissy, it's working. I'll go ahead and link it again for you. But yeah, it's like it gives you this opportunity to connect in the ways that work for you. If that's tarot, you'll find it on Jai's channel. If that is astro, you'll find it on Jai's channel. If that's ritual, you're going to find it there. And that's a really beautiful gift that she blends all of her gifts into one channel. So, Nelson says, is astrology basically law of attraction? Can you plan for specific sign, moon, rising when deciding to have kids?
So there's a lot of different uses for astrology. And honestly, it's like this big rabbit hole that you could like dive into and never come out.
I was telling my star schoolers that last night.
Let me bring this closer to me so I can actually look at the questions better. Um, so can you plan for specific sign, moon, rising when deciding to have kids? It's an interesting question. I think that um, there is a very kind of like a natural kind of miracle aspect to life, to birth and life and pregnancy. And everyone, I believe that as a soul, you choose to incarnate at a specific time on a specific day, and you choose to have this mission. And that is what I would focus more on. And if you are so lucky to be the parent of a soul that's coming through, I would do everything that I could to support in that soul's ascension. And that would be the focus that I would take as a parent. Um, can you give us a brief ritual of this upcoming celebration? You mean an example of a ritual? Will there be some visuals for us to view online? Oh, did you want to share while I'm talking?
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin, do you want to share? So here's what happens when you click on that link to sign up for the event. Kaymoon will share that on the screen, so you'll see at least what that looks like, so you know you're on the right page. Is astrology basically the law of attraction? The law of attraction is the law of attraction, and what that brings up is that we all have free will, and really, what do we focus on? We do bring back. So astrology is not basically the law of attraction, but it can give you a lot of insight into the energies that you have, the makeup of your personality, and maybe how you tend to make decisions or what your tendencies are, and then you can work with that. So on the screen, you'll see basically what happens, what where the link goes, and this is just for K-Moon subscribers, you guys. I'm not doing the giveaway for anybody else, so you guys are in on a special treat.
So you once you put your name and email in, you will get more details about the 3-day event, and you just need your first name and email address, and that's it. Very cool.
Okay, looks like that's it with the questions.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and just jump in real quick on that question about planning for a specific kind of child.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So, I have found that the modern miracles of science, you know, fertility interventions, C-sections that allow us to plan for a child at a specific time on a specific day, do allow us to do exactly what you've asked, Nelson. So I would say the answer to your question is undoubtedly yes. I would also say that what Jay has shared is 100% true, and that one of the greatest soul crimes we can commit against another being is to try to manipulate or modify precisely what it is they came here to do with our will, to try and override their soul urges or the way they wanted to incarnate by introducing our will onto theirs. That type of soul enslavement isn't something you would want somebody to subject you to. And it's, we all have our thing, right? Like you may find that, like, oh, I just have never met a Scorpio I get along with, or I've never gotten along with, somebody like this or like that. Anyone who is a parent will tell you, even when they have tried their best to nurture their child in a very specific direction, they got the child who was going to be their greatest teacher, not the child they wanted. They got.
Agreed. 100% agree with that. That's usually how it happens. That's why I was like, it's kind of like a trick question. You know what I mean? Like you could try to plan for it, but the truth is that you get exactly what the universe and like what your soul needs for growth.
We do. And even I have actually seen this when I read for people, even people like who have a sun placement in, let's just say, Libra. Let's say you always get along with Libras and you want to make sure that you get along with your child. So you want to have a Libra child. So you calculate, okay, 9 months prior to that, we are going to try to conceive. And we're going to conceive, whatever 9 months prior to Libra season is, so that we get a Libra child. And then we're going to schedule our, C-section for a date in the Libra sign. Ironically, that child could come out with a Scorpio stellium, and then you are right back where you started because that child is more Scorpio than Libra. Or that child could come out with an Aries stellium with 4 or 5 placements in a different sign, making the way that person expresses themselves more of a different sign than their sun sign. So, astrology is extraordinarily complicated in that way. And we use it to be masterful about our own lives, not necessarily to master someone else's life. So, I share that to say, when we do try to be masterful about somebody else's life, things like that can sometimes really backfire. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
No, I agree. It's like playing with fire. You know what I mean? It's like, do you really know what you're getting into? You know, like that kind of that phrase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it feels like for me. Here's another question. When a contract is decided between two people, does this play out or are different pathways taken? I feel like both, yeah, both are correct. That I think it does play out, but I also think that a soul contract, just like your birth chart, is a blueprint of your personality, but you evolved from that place. So, and then also once soul contracts are finished, then that karmic cycle ends and you're off to another lesson.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
Yep,
answer to that one.
totally. And High Smile says, yeah, I've done that before, but naturally. Yeah. So you can absolutely plan, like, nope, I want a child with this sun sign. But remember, you're never just your sun sign. You're also your moon sign, Venus
You're
sign,
all the
Mercury sign.
signs.
Yes, you are all the other signs as well. Um,
Do asexuals have twin flames? A soul is a soul, and I don't
mm,
think in my eyes, I don't think that souls discriminate. I'm that's my own personal
I
opinion
would
about it.
agree.
Like I feel like you can have a twin flame that's definitely the same sex as you. Um because the mission is the mission between the two souls. It's not the mission between the genders between the two souls. Even though that I think for also we all have masculine and feminine energy within us, and the whole twin flame thing is about the masculine and the feminine in this like beautiful communication, and that's not necessarily tied to your gender. So that's my
Totally.
answer anyways.
So deep, wonderful spiritual chat going on here, but I think we're now at the time where I need to wrap up. So we're going to conclude here. If you want to learn more from Jai, you can check her out over at Channel for Grace. Definitely subscribe to her YouTube channel. She does lives, she does it all. Like she does tarot, she does ritual, she does astrology chats every new and full moon. And if you're really, really interested in diving deeper and getting more connected to the cycles of the sun and the cycles of the moon together, get your hands on her book. Her book is a wonderful tool to be able to bring this information into your day to day life. Jai, I just want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It was such a pleasure. And if you're catching the replay, you will find this information below the video. Take great care, everyone, and bye